Okay, this was Tottenham Sewage Works up until 1964, and it was a sewage work from about 1850. This engine was actually put in 1888. It was first delivered down here in 1886 because originally the effluent would have come down by gravity into the concrete settling tanks that would have been around the site, and the effluent would have drained off and originally gone into the River Lee. But by the 1880s, the River Lee was becoming heavily polluted by industry and by the Tottenham Sewage Works. So they had a Purification Act, which meant Tottenham couldn't put the effluent into the River Lee. So what they did, they laid pipelines across the fields, actually to take the effluent away into the London system. And to do this, they needed a pumping engine to pump it across. And the engine had to be able to pump some 4 million gallons of effluent every 24 hours. So eventually they chose this engine, which was built by Wood Brothers of Yorkshire and came down in 1886, and within about 18 months they had erected the engine on site and then finished off the construction of the engine house around it. It's called a beam engine because the red thing at the top is the beam. So where I'm standing in the two steam cylinders, so when the engine's running, the steam cylinders are going to be pushing the beam up at this end and then pulling it down. So if that action's going on, the beam's actually going to be rocking like a giant seesaw. The working parts of the engine, the pumps, are actually down in the basement, and they're two massive pumps at each end of the beam. So when the beam's rocking, the beam pumps are going suck, pump, sucking and pumping. So it would continually run like that over a full 24-hour period. The thing in the middle with the two balls is the centrifugal speed governor. When the engine's going, the speed governor will rotate. The faster the engine goes, the balls move out, and that pulls that mushroom thing down, head down, which operates a long linkage back to the steam control valves to control the speed of the engine. So it's a kind of cruise control mechanism for the beam engine. All the noise you heard earlier on, all the banging and clattering, is the engine has to be in certain positions before it can actually be started. So it's not like any car engine or any other steam engine. You've got to get it in the right positions. So the crank at the end has got to be about 1 o'clock or 7 o'clock. If it isn't, then in fact what you've got to do is manually turn the engine over by levering the flywheel round, and that's called barring the engine. So it was put in here and was the main engine up until 1905, when newer engines were put in, and this was relegated to standby, and it was kept sort of in working order up until 1964, when the works closed. The site was shut down, everything was left to deteriorate, the engine house was bricked up, and the engine was just left sitting here. The other engines went, as did the boilers, which were in the next room to the engine. But unfortunately, a group of people did come down and thought it could be saved, so gradually work was done on the engine, and then by the year 2000, unfortunately, Haringey decided that they wanted a park down here, so they got lottery funding to landscape the area, build the cafe toilets, and we got the money to restore the engine and to get new boilers to drive it under steam power. So we first steamed it in July 2009, and up to now it started every time. But don't cut too soon, because it doesn't always start every time. But if you want to know more about it all, we have a book Economically priced at £4.50, which you can get in the books round at the other end of the shop area there. But if I go to the engineers already, I shall come out of the way now.
Oh, my battery's dying.
The real volunteers, no paid employee, so we rely on donations, so anything will be gratefully accepted.